Okay, actually remembered to unmute myself first this time. Um, Let me make sure I remember to screen share, right? Okay, so last week, because these things get changed up a little bit when we have an 11-week quarter, was the discussion board on writing your thesis statement. And you're you could update this if you choose to do it, which is another reason why I am covering this PowerPoint this week. So the first step to writing a thesis statement is to think about your topic. What is your topic? What problems does it address? What concerns are involved? This is very similar to the questions that you wrote in your case study that are then answered by the facts of the case study. If you think back to that assignment, that's one reason why I have you guys do a case study, is because it is excellent preparation for how to correctly write a thesis statement. It must start with a question. So first, I recommend that you take the problems or the concerns that are in the topic that you're going to write about, and write them down like dictionary entries, bullet point them, right? Leave some space where you can write what you are defining that problem or that concern as. Because the way I would describe the issues in missing, murdered, and Indigenous persons, for example, are going to be different from the way you would describe them. But we need to make our own definition of it. Um, then, like I said, for each of those bullet points, write a short definition of what it means. You may want to look up some of those words or phrases in a dictionary. There's a Merriam-Webster dictionary online is an excellent resource. And I think I've only had to use dictionary.com once. Merriam-Webster's is usually the superior resource. Uh, and I also recommend that if you feel that some of those words don't fully describe what you're talking about or the angle that you want to present, right? Because as Native Americans, we know there are not just two sides to every problem, there are multiple sides, right? You may need to look in a thesaurus. Ooh, look at me, I said that. I've always had trouble with that word. Um, Roget's Thesaurus is online. It has unfortunately not. It's been, the quality has degraded with the advent of AI, unfortunately. But not everybody has the space or can go buy a secondhand hard copy to have at home. And most of us don't really live near a library where it would be convenient, even if we live in a city, right? But sometimes there's another word that means the same thing, but it's a better description. It comprises more of what the problem is, if that makes sense. So you can write these, copy these off onto a note card or fold up a piece of paper and cut it into squares. If you left enough room in the paper when you bullet pointed that, you could cut that apart. If you've signed up for the Lattice account, you can put them onto note cards and then move those around if you prefer a digital way to do that. And think of it like a quilt. So you can move your bullet points around in different ways. So they're in different sequences. And it might make better sense that way. Just like when you take your quilt pieces before you sew them together, they might look better with the blue on the left and the red on the right. Or maybe you don't want them right close together. You want to have a complementary color in between. The cadence and the flow of your thesis statement can be arranged just like quilt pieces to emphasize the parts that you feel are important to your topic. So then next you have to take those important pieces and make it into a question. So this is how I took the pieces of my topic for my first thesis and made that into a very long tail question. I am not grading your thesis question in this way, right? I had to have mine approved. As long as you do it, you're going to get the points for it. If you haven't done it yet, get that updated. If you did it, but you think you can do it better, you can go back and do it again. If you don't know, if you don't know what you want the topic of your final paper to be, that's fine. You can say that. If you can't decide between 2 or 3 things, put those 2 to 3 things down, right? So what does this look like when you get the title of your paper that is part of your thesis question, right? I mean, thesis statement. I'm so tired already. So you have the long tail question. Your statement answers that question. Your thesis statement is like the facts that you wrote in your case study. And the question that helps you develop that is like the questions on the case study, right? So then we get the answer to what the topic is going to be, the refined topic. And this is going to be part of the thesis statement for my actual thesis. Changing the Indian education paradigm, a foundation in culture and law. Then your thesis statement starts out as a long question that identifies all the important points and problems that you're going to address in your final paper. Then it's turned into a shorter sentence that engages the reader's imagination on your chosen topic. And you can see that the title is part of that. So this process doesn't just apply to your final paper. You're going to need to do this process on a much smaller scale for your literature review and your upcoming research essay. So some past examples are the portrayal of Native Americans in children's literature. I've had several students who have done that. I had one student who did daily yoga practice for Native American women who are pregnant to alleviate stress and anxiety. Both of those were actual research, published research that the students found to write about. If you have a question on, hey, I wonder if somebody's ever done a study on da 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 for pregnant Native American women. Yes, they have. And I have no problem being your research librarian to find it. So we are not going to go over this in this recording. We are going to go over this on Monday. I'm going to teach you how to do the keywords and how to navigate the online open access journals, how to filter them, how to figure out which ones are behind a paywall, which ones are free. And I just want to leave you with, when you're finalizing your thesis question, you may need to go back to the topic you posted in the discussion board last week and then reply to your own post with your long tail thesis question once you have your topic refined. And you can totally do that. That is not locked. Now, these are some resources for this assignment. And if you put your cursor over, say, thesaurus.com, and you right click, go down here where it says hyperlink, open hyperlink, and it will pop up with that website. And then you can write in, let's say, let's see what reservation says. Let's see if they're just talking about restaurants or what else they have. It has nothing on here that has anything to do with Native Americans. Which is another reason why, a habitat for a large group. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, we might be able to get somewhere with some of this climate change stuff if we just start calling all of our homes a habitat, huh? But you can see how it comes up with a variety of things. There, it's like, I've never heard this word before, bespeaking. I'm assuming they're including American English and British English in here, but yeah, when we go down here to habitat for a large group, then we end up with reserve, which is what they call reservations in Canada, territory. I don't know that I'd call it an enclave. And particularly after we just had a new pope, we know what an enclave is, right? Homeland, preserve, sanctuary, tract. I would not say tract would apply. That usually just means a large number of acres. It could apply to a farm, not just a reservation. But that kind of gives you an illustration, a little bit of how you can use that if you still need to do this assignment or you feel it needs to be updated. And that is the end of this lecture.